They're like, gosh, it would make it so much easier for guys if women did this. So here's what I'm going to say. Guys, women are constantly giving you information if you're looking for it, if you're knowing what to listen to. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you listen for the kind of information that you would like to know so that you can pick up on the signals associated to asking for a dinner versus a coffee. Intentionality for a female nowadays, that's like a really like premium value offer, is to just approach them face to face. If you want to find out if you're interested and attracted to the rest of who she is, it would be great to just communicate without having to book anything particularly fancy, just by asking her, hey, all right, this is a spicy topic that is a hot debate in our primary audience, primarily those 35 and over desiring marriage and children. So the topic is coffee versus dinner. So here's 5 questions that I'm going to answer, and with hopefully add a different perspective and maybe some new data points for men of God and as well as women of God, but primarily men of God here, because honestly, I think you are all the ones that ask the spiciest questions. Oh, let's start with question 1. Why do you think so many men default to coffee? Is it about clarity, budget, or fear of scaring her off? Okay. So I think many men default to coffee because it's well, okay. Please give me permission just to give you some straight answers from my experience in many groups, talking with dozens and hundreds of singles. So if you give me permission to just straight talk, that would be great. So I think men default to coffee because it's kind of just a default. That's what it is. It's a default. It's the easiest thing to offer, and it's the most widely accepted invitation. But I also think it's the one that most women respond to either, yeah, no big deal, or they have a visceral response thinking like, no, absolutely not. If you're not going to put much effort into meeting me for coffee, then why would I give you all the effort that it takes for me to get out of my car, get a do the thing and do all the things just for a cup of coffee? Now, there are pros and cons to coffee, of course. Yes, of course, it is really easy. And yes, it's in a safe neighborhood because that's always really important. It's in a safe realm. But I also think that why many men default to coffee, let me stick to the question. Why men default to coffee is that it's easy. It's the easiest thing to default to. And that's why most men go in that direction. And is it about budget? Maybe. I mean, again, our primary audience at the Kingdom Singles brand are 35 and over in our audience. And so it's rarely about budget. It's really more about time. Because when you're 35 and over, you really want to leverage your time and your effort as well. And so I believe you default to coffee because you're trying to minimize the time that you maybe have invested in the past that you felt like you might have not received your ROI that you had desired for your effort. But also, if I could gently push on that as well, if it's easy on your effort, what kind of return on your investment is even expected? If what kind of a return on investment on a $6 or $7 coffee are you actually expecting? So, anyways, all right. So that right there, I don't think that you're scaring her off. I don't think women are scared by coffee. It's the last thing the woman is scared of, especially a God-fearing woman. She ain't scared of no coffee. Um, what she is scared of is someone who is exercising low effort. I think maybe that's probably the thing that she's most scared about. All right, question number 2. How can a man communicate genuine romantic interest without booking a fancy dinner or triggering wedding planning anxiety? Okay. Wedding planning without triggering wedding planning anxiety. Okay. Okay. This question This question is coming from this widely known narrative that women, predominantly in the church, when you ask them for coffee, they're already planning the wedding. I understand where it's coming from. It's not what happens all the time, but I understand where it's coming from because, women are very excited about, wedding and finding their person and being found by their person. But I understand this, but I also feel like this could be an excuse to exercise low effort. Again, we're back to that low effort. So, how can a man communicate genuine romantic interest without booking a fancy dinner or triggering wedding planning anxiety? Honestly, does it really take a fancy dinner to exercise you being able to communicate your interest in becoming a friend or having an hour or two of a woman's time that you're seeking to get to know? Does it take a fancy dinner? No, but I do think it takes some thoughtful effort for you to inquire about what she might be interested in. It might be a fancy dinner and it might be you'll know exactly what it is by just saying, "Hey, is there some place in town that you've been wanting to try or haven't been to yet or that you love to go that I could invite you to for lunch or a brunch or something like that?" It doesn't necessarily even have to be a fancy dinner. Maybe it's brunch, or maybe it's Sunday brunch after church, or maybe it is any particular area that she's seeking to explore around town. It's very easy to gather data about any given female that you might be interested in getting to know. And that actually might help inform her that you're, instead of inviting her into a default coffee, that you're actually interested in getting to know her. And by getting interested in getting to know her, part of that is not just taking her out for dinner or lunch or breakfast or dinner or coffee, is finding out what is it that she's been wanting to do or what she typically likes to do on a Tuesday or on a Wednesday. Or let's say you have, next Tuesday morning or next Friday morning available, or you can say, "Hey, is there an afternoon next week you might be available? I'd love to know if there's any place you've been wanting to go check out." That's a very that's a really interesting question, I think, for any women. Women, let me know. Let us know. And it's, I think, the perfect time for you. It says here, how can a man communicate genuine romantic interest? I mean, I think before you get to the romance, I think you could just show interest, period. Before you get to the romance part, because you don't even know if you're romantically interested in her after the first 5 minutes. You're not really sure. You might be attracted to her. I don't know. Most women are could be very physically attractive when you first see them. But if you don't know anything about them, you don't know if actually you're attracted to the rest of her. So if you want to find out if you're interested in and attracted to the rest of who she is, it would be great to just communicate without having to book anything particularly fancy, just by asking her, "Hey, what do you typically do on a Saturday afternoon?" And wait for her to respond. And then you can maybe follow up with, "Do you have a Saturday afternoon coming up that might be available where we can go check out that place that you've been talking about or that you mentioned? You mentioned this, you like to go to this particular spot out on the town. I'd really love to go explore that with you. Would you be open to that, whatever Saturday it is that she might have available?" Being intentional about asking her what she's interested in. All right. Question number 3. From a Christian woman's perspective, what signals are associated with asking for dinner versus coffee? Hold on. From a Christian woman's okay, I'm a Christian woman, I can okay, from my perspective, what signals are associated with asking for dinner versus coffee? Okay. What signals? Okay, I am a coffee drinker. So if you ask me, "Hey, are you a coffee person or a tea person?" I would be very enthusiastic when I respond about coffee. While I do love teas, I'm very enthusiastic about the type of coffee that I drink, so that would be something in our Kingdom Singles brand collective. The men in the group, they're like, "Gosh, you women make it so easy for men to talk to you because of, some of the conversations that we talk about in the community of how to provide information without being weird, but just being open about using language that is inviting and also friendly so that men have something like the men in our group. They're like, you're giving these men so many things to hook onto. You're making it so easy for the men that you're talking to. And they say, we wish all women would know this. And so, or would do this, right? And they're like, gosh, it would make it so much easier for guys if women did this. So here's what I'm going to say is, guys, women are constantly giving you information if you're looking for it, if you're knowing what to listen to. So here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you listen for the kind of information that you would like to know so that you can pick up on the signals associated to asking for a dinner versus a coffee, right? You can literally be that literal. Say, hey, is there a particular night of the week where you'd be interested in either meeting for a coffee or maybe having a meal? You don't have to say dinner. Most people are like, oh, is it dinner or is it whatever it is? It could be a snack. Ask her, say, hey, is there a particular night or afternoon? I personally love the afternoon ones personally, especially if you're the 35 and over group. Typically, there are a lot of afternoons that are open in that life stage because of just where we are in our life, right? So maybe you work corporate and all those things, but there's so many people who work remotely that there are certain afternoons, even mornings that are available to inquire about. So I love that. Like, hey, is there a particular like weekday that you're open during the week, maybe and then they're like, oh, it depends on, which week. It kind of changes all the time. You're like, oh, that's cool. What about next week? Be really intentional already. Have a time frame in your mind that you'd start your morning. We're like, Lord, I have Wednesday morning next week off, or I have this, whole week off, or whatever it is. Like, I'd really love to spend some time to get to know a beautiful, God-fearing woman because you obviously desire marriage and children. So it's okay for you to pray for these specifics. So as you pray for these specifics, also plan for them and look at your calendar and be like, I have these days open, Lord. Like I would please point me in the direction of who I can invite to share that time with. All right. So 4, okay, have you personally felt undervalued or suspicious when a guy only offered coffee? Yes, actually, this is kind of funny. Yes, I will say yes. This story is about a Christian man that did invite me to coffee at a location that out of our initial conversation, he knew I would already be in the general vicinity. So honestly, to me, I was already going to be there. It felt really convenient. And he just capitalized on how convenient it would be just to pop in because I had already mentioned I was going to be in this particular area at a coffee shop that I really liked. So he kind of invited himself to, hey, can I join you there for coffee? Which I absolutely love because why not? That's why you go to coffee shops is to meet up with friends and meet new people and people watch and work and do all the things, right? To have a healthy level of distraction, but also just have a nice place to work remotely or work or journal or Bible study, all kinds of things, right? Just be out and about. It did feel a little bit like it was so convenient for him. So I knew what it communicated to me was that it was requiring very little effort on his part. So it communicated to me that he wasn't very interested. And so, but I was already going to be there. So I said, absolutely, please, like, I'll be there between like this and this time. And I'd love to see you if you decide to go out there. So it wasn't like he committed to being there. I was already going to be there. And so yeah, I did feel personally undervalued, suspicious when a guy offered coffee. My suspicion was that he capitalized on the fact that I was already going to be there. And when we were sitting there for coffee, the conversation turned to a very interesting topic, which I'll have to mention in another episode in the future. But the kind of conversation we had, I felt like, why are you here having coffee with me if I almost felt like he felt obligated to have coffee with me. And I don't know why he would feel obligated to have coffee with me because we're literally just, we just keep bumping into each other at coffee shops and out and about. And so, but what I appreciated was that he was interested in spending the time. But did I feel personally undervalued? Actually, yes. It doesn't make him a bad person, but it didn't, it for sure, if the message was to communicate, I'm not interested in you, but I'm interested in talking with you and getting to know you, but not interested in you beyond that, then he was very successful. He was very successful in doing that. Okay. Let's see. In the future, I would say too, as much as friendly and I'm fairly outgoing, I believe. So in the future, I don't know that I would invite someone to join me at a coffee shop if that same scenario presented itself, just from personal data and information about that and how I felt afterwards. So all right. So number 5, final question, although we probably have more questions. And if you have more questions that you'd like to add to this Q&A, we can definitely discuss that and drop that in the chat. So, okay. Number 5, what kind of first date invitation sends the clearest message of respect, intention, and mutual interest? Okay. What kind of first date invitation sends the clearest message of respect? Okay. Well, this is really easy. It kind of like wraps up all 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And that is to send a clear message of interest to a female is to ask her. Okay. I have shared previous episodes on this, on why it's important to ask her and not tell her. Right. So asking a question is going to get you further than just telling her, hey, do you want to go do this? Instead of you coming up with an idea, ask her for information first. So ask her for the information first, the data point first, then curate your response with how you would counter offer her the data that she's given you. So if she says, sorry, hold on. Let's see what kind of first date invitation sends the clearest message of, okay, respect, intention, and mutual interest. Yeah, absolutely. So first off, you want to present your intention, right? So then that's really easy by just approaching her. The fact that you're approaching her, this is a really big deal. We'll be sharing this in the future with like percentage data, but there's actual data on this that most men do not actually even approach women personally to ask them out or to spend time with them. They typically do it digitally or over the phone or on apps or whatever it is. So intentionality for a female nowadays, that's like a really like premium value offer is to just approach them face to face. Okay. It's something that is rare. I think it's not as rare in a 30 and over crowd, obviously, for many reasons, because of just a level of maturity that is represented in a 35 and over crowd, right? So intentionality is pretty much measured by your approach and how you approach her. And so by just approaching her face to face, it's already delivering a message and a clear message of intention to her that you want to talk with her. You want to be in her presence. You want to look her in the eyes and you want to hear her voice and you want to wait for her to respond. So when you ask her a question, you wait to respond. You wait for what she's going to say so that you can curate an answer that is thoughtful, that considers what she just said to you instead of you already having a prefabricated, a premeditated response or some kind of script that you have practiced. Although scripts and practicing are really important, especially if you kind of like tense up when you have those conversations and interactions with godly women that you're excited about. And honestly, women think it's really adorable when men are slightly nervous when they're talking to them. And you can even say, hey, I've been really nervous to approach you, but I felt like I've been wanting to say hi. I think it's so adorable and really because the fact that you're being just honest, you're telling on yourself a little bit. I don't think it's cringy at all if you are being truthful and being genuine about it. And it's like an angle or a pickup line, although I know men have used that as an angle and a pickup line. So Women know the difference. You think we don't, but we know the difference. All right. So clearest message of respect is you listen to her. When you actually talk to her, you listen to her. You're not looking at her upside down, up and down. I mean, you're not checking out. Most men, when they like what they see, and I'm saying most men, men who are visual, that's funny because most men are visual. If you like what you see, wonderful, fantastic. Women like what they see too. But if you are spending your time with your eyes looking a lot at her up and down her physicality, um, it feels very violating. So that sends a clear message of disrespect. so if she starts to feel uncomfortable and starts to, backpedal, it could be that the message you're trying to convey is uncomfortable for her. So make sure that if she does feel uncomfortable, check yourself and then back away slowly. Excuse yourself from the conversation because now you've already, if she feels uncomfortable, you can even say, "Hey, I'm sorry. Is this making you? Is this conversation or is this okay that I talk with you?" Just ask her how she feels, right? And you'll know by her telling you. All right. So mutual interest. Lastly, clearest message of mutual interest. Yeah, I think the best way for any man of God to approach a woman of God to send a clear message of mutual interest to get to know each other is literally by asking her, "Hey, is there a time that you might be available where I'd like to spend some time to get to know you? Would you be interested in me getting to know you? Or do you have space in your life for a conversation with a new friend or something like that and here's another, don't be afraid to say the F word, friend. Do not be afraid to say friend. Some of the men in our membership group will say, "Oh, we hate the friend zone." I'm like, "Don't get me started on that." But we will talk about that more. But that's not an F word that you should be afraid of using, because saying that, especially in the context of kingdom men and women, it should it will put her at ease. It will put her at rest. It will put her in safety because women are constantly, we have to be vigilant about our safety. If someone were to say, "Hey, you probably have way too many friends already, but if you would have any interest in having one more friend, I'd really love an opportunity to get to know you." I don't know what woman of God in her right mind who would not accept such a vulnerable invitation as that. Because honestly, you have already set the tone that you're genuinely interested in just getting to know her. You're not promising her anything other than, "I'd be really interested in getting to know you. If you would be interested in having a new friend or considering a new friend, you don't even have to give me the job right away." I think it's not only adorable, but I think it's mindful of her. And it's also positioning you to a place where you can actually be trusted because you're actually delicately approaching the subject of potentially occupying her time. And in this life stage of ours, we are more interested in valuing our time, valuing our energy, our experiences with others and sharing those. So we're not particularly interested in like bulk activities, meaning like having so many group activities. Also, group activities are really fun. We get plenty of that in the church, especially if we're people who serve in the church regularly. We get plenty of that. And so having like good, clean, honest fun that's grown up and safe and gives her an opportunity to be known and to get to know someone also as interesting as you. Oh, that just sounds refreshing as I'm talking about it. All right. That is the close of our Q&A. Tried a new format today. So if you have any additional questions that you would like to present in this Q&A, please drop them in the chat and we will see you in the next episode. God bless you guys.